Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. My name is Vineet Malhotra. You're watching NewsX, and this program is being done in association with Business World. And over the last 6 months, ever since the pandemic started, we have been at it. We've had droves of entrepreneurs and the business leaders on this program who have not only given us ideas, but they've also given us direction as to where we are headed, what we have left behind, and what the current scenario is in the country today. The economy is in doldrums. The government has put out another stimulus package to help out the people who have suffered the most as a result of this pandemic. But is that really enough? What we do on this show is we get real entrepreneurs, real business minds to tell you what's going on the ground and what are the measures they have taken to make sure that they are back on track. And if they are back on track, that means the also going to be back on track in just a matter of days. So without wasting any more time, let me introduce our panelists for today. Joining me on the program is Ms. Chinu Kala. She's the founder of Rubens Accessories. Mr. Sanjeev Chopra, he's the managing director and CEO of Ultimate Videotronics India. Ms. Shubhangi Tiwari, she's a singer, composer, and a vocal coach, also joins us on the program. Mr. Amit Roy, partner, think tank partner, Shilton Hospitality, is also here with us. Ms. Jyotsna Ahuja Kapoor, founder of The White Space, also joins us on this platform. And last but by no means the least, my co-partner, my co-anchor, Dr. Anurag Batra, chairman and editor-in-chief of Business World and the Exchange for Media Group. Sanjeev Chopra, let me come to you, ask you a very simple question. Well, we've all had our own stint, if I can say, with the economy in the last few months. Some of us have done well. Some of us have lost our jobs. Some of us have, in fact, become a part of an industry which is soon evolving. Where do you stand in this flux of change? Where do you stand in this landscape of movement which has been brought about because of this pandemic? And what is your current situation? Describe the last 6 months for your business.
So, Vinny, for our business, we've been in business throughout the pandemic, even when the lockdown was on. We've diversified into a lot of businesses before the pandemic. I mean, that's almost last 10 years. There's been a lot of diversification that we have seen in our business. So, major diversification has been into events and exhibitions, where we really did well in last 5 to 6 years, and we were actually getting most chunk of our business from there, which has gone totally zero since the lockdown happened.
Right.
But luckily, we've been into the space where we are doing AVs, we are into digital marketing, we are into designing. So we have team of designers. So as the lockdown started, even before that, we took a very conscious decision of everybody working from home. And that was a great decision from our side, which we did even a week before the lockdown started, which ensured that all our employees had connectivity at their own places. They had good internet connectivity, good systems to work on. Only the team that needed to be in office was the AV team because they needed to access servers for footage and all that. So that's where we took a good decision, and we've been in business throughout the pandemic. Luckily for us, we have really sailed through this tough times. We've been supported by all our clients, from PSUs to private clients. So yeah, more or less, we are on a 20% of our business that we were on, but luckily we have sailed through. We have made money to give to our employees. We have not removed any employee. In fact, we have hired more because we got into virtual space. Events moved into virtual events. We also moved into virtual space. We enhanced capabilities. We got some more people into the team where we required. So yeah, we have sailed through, and I think next 6 months, and we should be back to normal.
That's wonderful to me.
Yeah, Sanjeev, just to ask you,
Yeah.
you rightly said that you're diversified into exhibitions and events, and the audio visual that is played at the start of the event or during the event would add to the event. Now everything is gone virtual and everything is gone video. Everything that we do it on a video. So possibly the future augurs well for what you do, because doing videos has become a part of doing events more than it used to be. So do you see that business growing in the next few months and possibly making up for the loss of business you had in the last 6 to 8 months?
So Anurag, video business per se in today's time it's become pretty open. So people are making videos at home. People are mostly doing videos on their mobile, sending it to us, getting them edited, getting them displayed at events and all that. So the earlier where we had more control on video, now user has
You're
or
saying
our
that
clients have more
the
control on video.
do-it-yourself economy is
Yeah,
made everybody a video editor, everybody
yeah,
is producing
yeah,
videos.
yeah.
But, a professional is a professional, a domain expert is a domain expert. And I would say to all the viewers who are watching this, that what an expert can do, while we'd encourage you to participate in the do-it-yourself economy, but a professional and a domain expert brings expertise which really helps the end product. Bringing in Chinu Kala into the conversation. Chinu, just to share an important statistic, the sales of lipsticks have dipped and the sales of eyeliners has grown. The sales of creams have grown because more and more women are wearing a mask on their face. So hence the need for a lipstick has come down. The reason I say that is jewelry something that the Indian consumer is looking at. I know the wedding season is around. So give us a sense of how your business is doing, and by that corollary, what's happening in the jewelry business.
So like most of the businesses, what happened with us also was a complete washout during April and May. But then by June, we saw a demand going up. But there was a very strange thing. So we were expecting that, only a minimalistic jewelry will go and people will only buy jewelry that they can wear to, say, on the virtual calls or maybe at home. But to my surprise, it did not happen like that. Women today, women still want to dress up. Women cannot stop buying. They cannot stop shopping. If they're not shopping lipstick, they're buying liner. If they're not buying liner, they're buying a moisturizer. They will buy. So because everything is about looking good, whether it's on virtual call or whether they're just at home. In fact, the self-love has gone much higher than what it was because now they have more time to look after themselves. They have more time to dress up and there's nothing else to do. So the only way women can, feel a little high is by dressing up. So for us, the demand really went up. And in fact, the Diwali season was one of the best ever. We are already on like 100% growth pre-COVID. So for us, it has been really good because women wants to look good. They will keep buying.
Sure, I understand. Grooming and looking good on the screen is equally important. And you're saying that not only, entry-level jewelry, but jewelry that really
So get a
level did well.
You belong to the events and entertainment industry. That was the worst hit during the pandemic. In fact, events were completely wiped out. Event companies had put huge locks outside their offices, and for a long time there was nothing that was happening. Even still, events have been sidelined, have been relegated. How did you cope up with that new normal?
So,
Yeah.
Sorry, was that a question for me?
Yes, sure.
Absolutely, Viniji. That is exactly. It was horrific because we rely primarily on events as musicians, as singers. I'm a singer. So, but as Sanjeevji said, diversification has really helped us survive. So if I just relied on being a singer, I would probably be really badly hit. But, I did many other things, like took my, I'm a vocal instructor as well. So all my classes have gone online. I'm also developing some courses, which I can share online and people can take them online. So that is something I've received an impetus to work on that side of my work. And also, like I said earlier, I'm doing other stuff like vocal healing and vocal design, these are services I can provide online. But yes, the events, it's like a complete washout. Nothing's happening except for, of course, virtual events. But that kick that you get from going to a live gig and singing in front of people who are a few feet apart from you, that is really missed. And, we're just hoping that things get better soon. So definitely, it's been
It's
It's
been
been
tough.
a change, yes, and we've had to adapt. But again, it's not impossible. You can diversify.
Personal speaking has become big part of personal branding. If you are a CEO, you need to speak to your shareholders. If you're a listed company, you need to speak to your investors. If you are in the public speaking business or you're a media professional. So are CEOs and professionals taking voice coaching, even if you're on a video call, using whichever technology, the quality, because you're not in front of the person physically, how you address the person, your body language, how your voice comes out is equally important. So are you seeing people who are not just musicians actually opting out for your services to improve what they do in their professional lives?
Uh, that's a really good point, Anuragji. I just, a lot of voice reliant professionals usually take my services if they feel that they need some help with the voice, if something's gone wrong with the voice and stuff. It's not so much how to speak, but
It's
like
the modulation of the voice,
Modulation,
to heal your voice,
and
to
also,
heal your throat, your vocal cords, how
yes,
to rest them. So understand it is healing.
and how to
as well as-
project
yes.
and all of that.
So clearly, with the current quality of air in Delhi, all of our throats are stretched. Of course, I'm not a singer. Vineet is, but going to Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy, the F&B business is one of the most hard-hit businesses. QSRs have shut down. I'm an investor in a leading QSR brand. Um, but QSRs have become cloud kitchens. They've become cloud restaurants. Dining is coming to your home. Restaurants have created kits where you can get your favorite food and kind of assemble it at home. So tell us, where is the F&B industry headed to, and what are the bright spots in this dark cloud?
So basically, the F&B industry is in the dumps as it is. We have been completely ignored by the government. There's no stimulus for us during this pandemic. So the only bright spot I see is that from down at the bottom of the ladder, the only way is up for us. Yes, some people have moved to the cloud kitchen business. Yes, some of these QSRs have become cloud kitchens. But we also got to notice that the quantum of cloud kitchens has exponentially grown. So it's not that, earlier it was, say, maybe 1,000 cloud kitchens serving 50,000 people. Now it's 10,000 cloud kitchens serving 50,000 people. So it's gotten a lot more distributed. The sad part is the PBCL business, which is your pubs, bars, cafes, and lounges. They are the ones which are still suffering because, obviously, due to restrictions, overheads are phenomenal. Like I said, no respite from the government. And, with restrictions coming in 50% occupancy, certain, like, for example, your nightclubs are not even open, your lounges where standing is not even allowed. So basically, everything's gone back to a seated restaurant, which the numbers don't add up for certain ventures which have started in this. And unfortunately for me, unlike Sanjeev, when we diversified only in the hospitality field, and all our avenues are shut, right from our QSRs to our PVCLs to our hotels. Everything has taken a huge hit. But the thing is, now it's about survival and then slowly start revival. So we are hoping that, by 2021, things do a bit of a change, things slowly start improving, your IT parks start opening, people start, coming out a bit more. And of course, there's always the, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which says that the vaccine will come out sooner than expected. So that's the current scenario for the hospitality right now. From all angles, unfortunately, we've been ignored by the government, but that's something that we have to live with.
Okay. Jyotsna, in these times, immunity is very important. Physical health is very important. For the first time, we're talking about resilience. We're talking about mental well-being. We're talking of becoming the best versions of ourselves. When we cannot go out, we go within to become who we need to become. So give us a sense of how busy you have been, and do you see the movement to improve ourselves? Self-help has been around for at least a large part of the decade. but
Yep.
self-help businesses have started to thrive in the last 5 years or so. Do you see COVID as a watershed movement and accelerator for self-help businesses? Give us a sense of what's happening to your business.
So,
Yes.
as
Sorry.
I'm also part of NRAI.
Amit,
Sorry.
We're coming back to you.
that question was for Jyotsna. Jyotsna, go ahead.
Hi. So yes, Anurag, thank you. You actually put it very well. COVID has been a watershed moment for a lot of us. What happens is, given that everybody's ability pre-COVID to step out and really engage with people meant that we had an avenue in which we were perhaps distracted. So very well said that we go inwards. What happens is, because of that, there has been a significant shift overall generally in people, wherein the desire to improve self is really extrapolated to the next level. What happens is, we've all, this has been a shedding moment. We've all looking at the fact of where have we been distracting ourselves, where have we been holding on to unhealthy behavior patterns or mental patterns, or the things that we believed were happening to us are actually self-created, and we are blocking ourselves over there. So in this point of time, transformation is on a personal level, relationships, all of this has gone into quantum leaps into the future. There's a general desire to upgrade. And therefore, given that while lack of social contact at a physical level happened, I think Shubhangi also said adaptation, and a lot of us are using adaptation in that sense. What happens is, when you're building contact with a person via the digital forums, and especially when you're reaching out for assistance, that has been an unusual combination. And actually, rather surprisingly, it works well, because wherein there is a loss of personal contact, physical contact, the ability to reach geographically far and wide, the ability to stay in one's own premises in the home itself environment gives you more of a comfort of feeling at home. And that actually has helped people, that has aided the introspection process, that has aided the desire to do better, to shed what's not working for you. So that's how
But
it's
let
really...
me ask you, Jyotsna, there are so many free self-help tools, there are sites you can go to, which are, so how do you make a business out of it? How do you make sure, while you're helping people and serving your mission to be able to make a positive impact on other people's life, but how do you build a business around it? Have people started to pay for counseling sessions? Have corporates started to engage professionals like you to be able to bring well-being to the boardroom?
Anurag, while there are tons of self-help books, there's a lot of information on the internet. It's everywhere. But I still feel nothing can substitute human compassion and empathy. When somebody says, hey, I'm struggling with this, there's an option of either going to read a book, there's an option of looking up a link on the internet, or there's the option of reaching out to somebody, and thanks to FaceTime, Skype, you can see the person, which is the closest you can get to human contact. So in that aspect, nothing even till today replaces the presence, virtual or otherwise, of a human being there, and just somebody saying, hey, I understand. And yes, I get it. That really takes a person super far in the healing process or in the transformation process. And above all, I think the biggest relationship we have is with ourselves. And when somebody is helping us walk the path there, that really does wonders in the transformation bit.
I fully agree, Jyotsna. I think the biggest investment you can make is in yourself. And, I believe that centered people do well in everything. They do better in relationships. They do better at work. They do better in being this, better citizens. So really, you're being a better version of yourself. It's not just something selfish, but it works for the community. Amit, you were talking to us about the NARAI.
Before we move on, Rag, I have a question for Jyotsna. Just a very small question for Jyotsna.
Yes, Vineet.
During the pandemic, this penchant for human touch or human interaction, human proximity, has it accentuated or has it declined? Because the last time I read, cell phone sales have skyrocketed in the last 6 months. That means you need a cell phone more than a contact with your friend or your partner or your parents or your siblings.
Yes. So yes, human contact actually is a basic necessity, physiologically speaking, so as well for all of us. Even if you look at a newborn baby, there is no substitute for a mother's contact. And while it's easy to have permission for a baby requiring human contact, a lot of us perhaps do away with the acknowledgement required for the fact that we as adults also require somebody, maybe even just to hold your hand or just to see somebody or to hug somebody. So you're absolutely right. Human contact has suffered. And perhaps that is why we're trying every other way to compensate and reach out in any way possible. And it's always, if you're aware of it, you're looking forward to when do things open up. So yes, that has been a tricky one for people, but I must say that people are finding innovative ways to associate or connect with something that is tangibly fulfilling. If you'll see, a lot of people are cooking, a lot of people are painting, a lot of people are dealing with things that require physical touch, be it gardening, be it anything that you say, in the absence or to substitute a deficit of human contact. So we as humans are very innovative in finding ways to temporarily substitute a need, but it will never do away completely with the need for another human being physical contact. That was very, yeah.
Amit, you were talking to the National Restaurant Association of India. Rahul is a schoolmate. We went to the same engineering school. But have the associations in the hospitality and restaurants failed to get anything from the government? While it's the government's, responsibility to make sure that every sector, and yours is a large employment sector, tax-wise also it's a large contributor to tax. I mean, the liquor sales in restaurants really add up to the revenues. But do you feel the associations, both in the hospitality and the restaurant domain, have failed to be able to fulfill their objectives of getting policy interventions that are accelerators? What would you say to that? I would say they failed.
It's actually a mixed bag. NRA has been actively lobbying this at the central level for the last year or so, even including with GST. Unfortunately, the liquor part is a state law. It doesn't come under central, and each state has its own ballgame to play. Like, for example, quite a few states have got a lot of reprieve in the liquor licensing and license paperwork and fees. But us as a state in Karnataka, we haven't gotten a single benefit from the government. In fact, we have even paid licenses and rents to the government while we were shut. Even when we were not operational, we still had to pay them. Whereas Maharashtra, Punjab have.
Why do you think there's so much apathy towards your industry? When it's a large employer, it's a large tax contributor. Why do you think? And I have a very simple reason. See, right now the government does not want any contacts sector to do well. Anything that is a risk of getting people together. And that's why the government is even holding on to public spending. In 30 to 60 days when a vaccine is there, and in 90 to 120 days when the distribution starts, I am making a prediction on NewsX that the government will start massive amount of public spending, which will then result into demand really coming back in a big way. But my hunch is that any contact sector, government is purposely not encouraging them. That's my understanding.
That's perfectly fine, Anurag. We completely respect that fact. But then why don't you support us economically is what we are asking. Right now, we have been,
Right in terms of taxes, in terms of GST,
yes,
in terms of rent-free periods. The only silver lining, I would say, Amit, is a lot of landlords where QSRs are tenants have shifted to a revenue share model.
Correct.
And they're more compassionate towards and more open to business models that create a win-win than just a rental mentality. So I think that's that mind shift that has again happened in 2020 that may continue beyond 2020. So I think there is that one positive that has really happened. But I'm not sure there are other positives in this business. And again, there's an experience of going to a lounge, of going to a restaurant. While you can get the same food at your home, it's not the same. Going out is cathartic. And I was reading a New York Times article about the grief, unsaid grief everyone has about not being able to do the normal things. I mean, we wouldn't think before taking our dog for a walk, in the neighborhood, or going to a park, or just going to our neighborhood coffee shop to have a cup of coffee. But we miss those things as simple as basic, because we would take that granted. So there is a lot of unsaid grief in a lot of us, apart from the express grief. But let me go back to Chinu again. Chinu, right now is the wedding season. So clearly jewelry will be bought. Weddings and jewelry are synonymous. The wedding economy is a very big economic booster. But tell us, how will you sustain jewelry demand? How will your industry sustain the jewelry demand?
As I said, so definitely it is going to go up with the wedding season. In fact, we've launched a new capsule collection of luxury, and we see it really taking off well. Because also what happens is, see, it is still a wedding day for this woman, okay? Even if it's an intimate wedding, it's
and
still
the man.
very
and
big.
Man. Wedding day for the woman and the man.
And the man.
We had the International Men's Day, but we can still
yesterday
do that. Go on.
It's a big day. It's still a big day for the family. So the family is spending, and now they're not thinking, because they're not spending on other things. They're spending on themselves and the jewelry. How do we sustain? I think what will happen is the ethnic jewelry demand will go a little low after the wedding season. But as I said, the women wants to look good, and they are on calls every day. They are and it's not just the working women. Even the housewives are on call with their friends because they need some interaction. And looking good is something that really makes them feel good.
There is something about jewelry which makes a woman happy beyond looking good. It's there is something cathartic about jewelry, I think.
And of course, we are in the midst of this very interesting program. Anurag, in fact, Shubhangi spoke about diversification, that how diversifying has helped a lot of people survive and pull through these tough times, this predicament that we find ourselves in, this abyss of hopelessness, as a lot of us have described COVID-19 to be. But tell me, Anurag, how does an engineer who's been doing the same thing for the past 30 years without a job diversify? How about a teacher who's been doing the same thing for the past 25 years diversify? Perhaps none of these people, including a teacher, will not be as savvy with the digital world as probably you and I are.
First of all, it depends whether that person is a self-employed professional or works for a large organization where he or she has a security of a job. But just to answer,
somebody who's lost their job,
then clearly he or she needs to add new skills. For example, an engineer could add skills of learning how to edit videos, because possibly that's easy. The engineer could learn how to amplify on social media, because whatever business you are in today, social media is a need, where direct to consumer brands are being built, direct to consumer businesses are being built. I think these are two skills that you can learn. And third, dare I say, I would see it as a temporary phase. So clearly you could put money in stock markets. I'm not a big believer in that, but my wife does. She comes from a travel background, and travel has been decimated. So over the last 7 odd months, she's been, betting on the stock market. So clearly, you learn a skill in terms of video editing, learn skills on social media, look at the stock market. There could be other ways. There could be other hobbies that could become professions, because you were always not finding time or afraid to pursue them. But a lot of personal wealth experts in India and across the world have been saying that the way to survive and thrive in the future is to have at least 2 or 3 income streams, not just have one business. Because clearly, if for some reason that sector, because of a technological innovation or because of something which is a black swan event, does not do well, then clearly you have a second or third revenue to kind of bank on. So I think for the first time, most of us have started to think about that. And I won't be surprised in the last 8 months, a lot of those 30 million people who lost their jobs have learned a new skill and have been re-employable in the economy. And again, dare I say, traditionally you thought about the gig economy only for millennials. I think people who are in their mid-40s and they're discovering that this is a career that they started, but possibly they want to do something else, which is their ikigai or their passion, are going back to those. So clearly, short-term assignments, projects, discovering a passion that becomes a hobby and then becomes possibly a profession is in vogue, so to say. Let me bring in Shubhangi and all the other panelists into this conversation and ask you two questions. One, when do you see the Indian economy coming back in full bloom? In 6 months, 12 months, or 18 months? And qualify your answer by. Second, what are your top lockdown lessons as an entrepreneur, as a human being? Shubhangi Tiwari, first you, and then I'll go to the other panelists.
Well, I'm not an economist, sir, but
And Shubhangi, not necessarily economists are right about the predictions on economy. And, as somebody who's in the economy, who can feel the economy, and clearly anybody I ask this question to says it depends when the COVID goes away or when the vaccine is found. Of course, that's one variable that you and me have no control over. But within our limited understanding of the professions that we are in, when do we see the economy coming back?
Well, I would say in the next 6 to 8 months, because as far as I've heard and understand, COVID is going to peak and taper off, and also, of course, we're like you said, we're awaiting the vaccine, and once that gets off the ground, I mean, people will feel more confident to come out and interact with other people at closer quarters. So I think that will be key to, people going out. And for people like us in the entertainment industry, it's not a necessity. Of course, people need to relax, but, people will step out to work. People will step out maybe to the grocery store if they need to buy something. But they will go to a gig only if they feel sure that it's safe for them to. So I think a lot of trust is going to be built, and people are going to feel less apprehensive about stepping out once we see better figures in terms of lesser number of infections. And
understood. You're saying 6 to 8 months,
yes,
and you qualified it. And what are your top lockdown lessons, Shubhangi?
Well, I think I speak for like a lot of people when I say that after the initial panic and confusion as to what was happening, because this is certainly my first pandemic, after the initial panic, I mean, there was this period of going within, and like Jyotsna ji has been saying, the distraction sort of faded away, and there was a lot more time to yourself because the travel time wasn't there, and we just had a lot of times with ourselves and to ourselves, and that really for a creative professional like me, that sort of gave me a lot of clarity in terms of the direction I want to take.
You're saying you got clarity, and
Yes.
I keep saying, and I'd say to Jyotsna and you, that we shouldn't mistake activity for progress. Activity is good. Sometimes we're very active, but are we making any progress? So clearly you're saying that, progress is more important than activity. Sanjeev, what are your top lockdown lessons? And when do you see the economy coming back in full bloom? When the PSUs, the government clients, the ministries, the private sector give you more work on audio visuals? When I know rental of equipment of audio visuals is a big business, and because we got to this virtual editing and shooting things in an amateur way and not necessarily in a professional way, the market shrunk. But when do you see it coming back in full bloom?
Anurag, I think I would bank on 31st March as the date till things are still going to be shut. I would say not slow. I would say shut in terms of corporate events and corporate engagements. Beyond that, what I see, if I talk to my clients day in, day out, everybody's ready to go. Everybody wants to get out and start doing something. As Chino said, that people contact, that cannot be changed. I mean, there cannot be a substitute to that. So everybody wants to get into the game. People have already started. We have already started getting inquiries on events for, let's say, 25 people, 50 people. So already few inquiries are already floating. They may start starting January or Feb. But April onwards, I feel where most of the corporates will get out, COVID or no COVID, frankly speaking. I think by that time, probably vaccine will be there. I don't know, I mean, how it's going to phase out. But beyond 31st March, I see business coming back. And maybe by June, I think we should be back on the levels that we were on earlier. Yeah, there are going to be a lot of protocols. There are going to be a lot of protocols when it comes to events and exhibitions, and we
Right. So a lot of governments, in fact, are thinking of, a lot of state governments are rethinking of imposing the lockdowns again. It's happened in Ahmedabad. Even Kejriwal is contemplating shutting down a few markets. Do you think the 31st March is a wee bit optimistic?
Vineet, if I mean, see, governments have their own point of view, their own way of thinking. They have a lot to answer when it comes to increasing numbers and all those things.
Okay.
We as entrepreneurs and people who are on ground, see, businesses are back to, if I not say pre-COVID level, but they are back to normal. I mean, for our clients, as if I may, I mean, just say so, that our clients are doing businesses as normal. Even though they are not going to office every day, they are going to office maybe once a week or twice a week. But for them, they are doing business as they were doing earlier. Now, to increase business, they have to have that human contact to their client. I mean, through events, through exhibitions. That's where they get major chunk of queries and business from.
Yes.
They have to go back to there. I think, I mean, if I say it for myself, it's something like COVID is something like now everybody wants to get done and dusted with. He ho jaye, and
COVID is dusted with us.
Obviously,
Done with us. And what are your top lockdown lessons? What's the way of doing business or way of being that has changed in you as an individual?
So for us, top lesson has been our ability to be available to our clients 24/7, frankly speaking, whenever they needed us.
I call it that I keep telling my team and everyone I meet, it's a time to build relationships.
Yeah.
It's not time for business. Last 8 months for building relationships. If you have genuine relationships, business will automatically happen.
So a lot of our clients
being available to your clients is one way of cementing that relationship.
So a lot of our clients already had that trust on us that we will deliver whenever needed. So as soon as the lockdown happened, a lot of our clients approached us, will you be able to do this? Will you be able to do that? And we never said no. Our team were geared up. Our office was, although closed, we ensured that 1 or 2 editors of our team would stay in office throughout the lockdown.
You're saying responsiveness, agility are the lessons you've learned. Let me go to Amit Roy. Amit Roy, when do you see the F&B industry coming back to some semblance of normal? And what are your top lockdown lessons?
I think the economy will slowly, it's 2 parts. Actually, I think the cash flow will start off coming in the next few months. But by the time the economy comes back to normal, I think it's going to take closer to 12 months. The reason is the lot of debt which has built up in the last 6 to 8 months, which we have, kept under moratorium or we have borrowed money. So by the time the actually economy revives, I say it's going to take close to 12 months. And again, various things, because say it come January, it's not going to be back to 100% of business. We're going to gradually grow. So to get rid of all the built up debt, to make sure your fund flow, cash flows are sorted, I see it taking close to 12 months for the economy to get back on track. Most famous lockdown lessons. One, I would say I would take it from Jyotsna, that to be mentally positive and strong and not to let this affect you, because we have to survive no matter what. And apart from that, as most of the people learn how to cook at home. That's about it.
Okay. I'm not sure that's good for your business, Amit, that people learn how to cook. But no wonder, you're a compassionate man. And, let me go to Jyotsna. Jyotsna, when do you see businesses coming back to normal, the Indian economy coming back to normal? And what are your top lockdown lessons?
Okay, so again, I'm not as an economist like Shubhangi said. I'm not very well into that bit. But what I can speak about with confidence is human spirit, and I think a lot of us are looking for 2020 to end, and therefore 2021. Now, whether that really translates into it reality or not, but there is an optimistic spirit, and I think you can't keep a good person down. So whether COVID, I'm sure COVID will at some point of time, we will ease into a healthier state, but a lot of people are looking forward to it. And I think, like Sanjeev said, post 31st March, it feels like things are going to be better because you have a lead-in period to recovery, rebuilding, restructuring, and probably a lot of next year is focused on getting back and recreating that maybe at a better level than before. So I think second quarter going into third quarter next year is when we could look at an upward climb more steeply.
And what are lockdown lessons?
Top lockdown lessons. Personal as well as what I see around me is predominantly two. One is we spoke about shedding, but I think the biggest one from the lesson that I've perhaps picked up is shed the limitations, because I don't think many of us anticipated something like this would happen, and a lot of us did get through it, and a lot of us learned to really open up and deal with things much more differently than we possibly thought we could. So shedding the limitations is a big one towards the growth process. And the second one, equally important, more or less, I can't say, but authenticity with self. You can't hide it, you can't escape it, and it's the only way to go through. There's a saying that you can't bypass the tunnel. So you can't bypass the tunnel of really dealing with your stuff. You've got to go through it. COVID provided us exactly such a channel or a passage or a constriction of sorts, wherein we were forced to transform, to quote a cliche like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. So it's been challenging, it's been tricky, but there's no way out of it except by being authentic, vulnerable with self. And perhaps that's a sign of greater courage.
In fact, I would say to you, Jyotsna, Randy Pausch, one of my favorite authors, said that the brick walls in our minds are there to be broken. I think COVID is a great time to break those brick walls, because a lot of times we tell us that this is not possible. And post-COVID, we know never say never. And whatever we desire is possible too. Going to Chinu, when do you see your industry and overall the Indian economy coming back to a semblance of normal? And what are your top lockdown lessons?
I think about 12 to 14 months is what it will take. Precisely what I'm very positive about, the moment we have a vaccine and things, people feel normal about going out, what will happen is there'll be a huge segment which will say, oh, we have just one life. We were all locked for such a long time. We could not do this. We could not do that. They will start coming out. There's
a pent-up demand that will manifest, and that will lead to
growth. Certain growth. And that will happen because there's a huge chunk who believes like that. Also, a lockdown lesson, I think for me was, or for most of business people would be, the value of capital. We had to be capital positive. And being lean, being conscious about money, because we suddenly realized that it was not about what investments, what money, what numbers on the
paper. It was not about valuation. It was not about gross merchandise sold through your GMV. It was not about, the future. It was about present. And dare I say, the Marwadi mentality, ki aaj galle mein kitne paise aaye? How much money did you bill today? How much money did you bill? I think that's a very positive shift, if I may use. For the first time, entrepreneurs are saying costs have to be lesser than revenues. Yes. So I think it's a very welcome change. And I would say one more thing, Chinu, and would say to all the entrepreneurs in the panel and everyone watching, I think more than time, money, the value of time. Jyotsna talk about shedding. My biggest thing has been, if I can conserve my time, if I can bring in focus to conserving my time, I can achieve everything I want to. And I don't say it as a cliche. For those who know me, know that in the last 8 months, I've been able to focus more than ever to be able to do whatever I want to. And, once you taste success, you can kind of get addicted to the right way of doing things. So I'm fully with you that money is very important, conserving cash is, but I think time is a bigger commodity than money. If you conserve your time rightly, you can create as much money as you want. Vineet, what is more important, money or time?
Well, well, absolutely time, Anurag. I guess it depends on what age you are at life. If
I'm 21.
at
At 21, I clearly feel time is more important. When I was about 10 years old, I would think money is more important. But at this young, ripe age of 21, I think time is most important. But on a very serious note, you're right. Time can enable us to do the right things, look after our parents, look after our families, spend time with our children. When we talk to someone, actually be in the conversation, being mindful. Today, when I do a conversation, if someone visits my home, I don't keep my phone around. When I go to sleep, I keep it in a different room. I mean, I take 2 hours of phone detox every day because in the media business, we're in the content business. We like incoming content. But I think how you utilize your time, how you structure your day, because we started to deal with the necessary. We have kind of shed the flab, and I think that has made a difference to my life. And you're right, time can create everything else.
And another thing is, Anurag, that during this pandemic, and Jyotsna, you would also agree that there have been two types of people: ones who have had a lot of time and didn't do anything about it. They in fact went into a depression and blamed the pandemic for their status. And on the other hand, you perhaps have people like me and Anurag and yourself as well, who made the most of their time. I signed a couple of books myself. Like Shubhangi, I'm also interested in music. I made about 8 songs in the last 8 months. I put them out on various platforms. I would have never done that if the pandemic never came. So it's not only about having time; it's what to do with it and having the energy to do something about it.
Yeah. I agree with you. That is correct. But then there is always, given any situation, people will react differently. And this happens to be just one of that. It's really how much you're willing to buy the general point of view without kind of connecting to what you really truly believe in. If somebody tells me, oh, if you step out of your house and just walk to the elevator, you're going to fall sick simply by breathing the air. It's up to me to really take a reality check on what I want to do with that. And therefore, if you extrapolate that to the choices that we make, I can choose to sit and blame everything and approach or really, embody the victim mentality. Or I can say, hey, let me constantly look for silver linings, or I have this joy or desire for living. And even if the chips are down, I'm still going to keep going as much as I can. So at the end of the day, it's really human choice or the desire to really do and perhaps fail or succeed, or to really succeed at failing. It's your choice.
I just want to, Vineet, before I just want to build on what Jyotsna, I know. Yes, Vineet.
Just one more point. When I was in school, I went to a very school. I went to DPS Arkipuram, and right at the entrance, we had this huge placard which said that never say why me, always say try me. So it kind of brings back that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You got to believe in yourself.
You've got to get up and walk the talk, don't just sit there. But I mean, at the same time, each person's choice, everybody's individual, everybody's also to some extent a product of circumstances and belief systems and patterns. And so each to their own. But when there's a true desire to get up and really heal or evolve or feel better every day, even if it's 1 out of 10 or 1 point out of 10 or however you want to measure it, the desire to live is the desire to succeed against all odds. And that's why there's a saying that, hope is perhaps nature's biggest gift to mankind.
Absolutely.
You don't have hope?
Hope and music.
Hope is not a plan.
Hope and
I just
music.
want to also say, while we are about success and all, and I'm a very busy person, so I'm sure some people won't believe what I say, but being over busy, being performance oriented. I mean, we don't have to make a virtue about being very busy. Of course, somebody asked me 4 weeks back on a lit fest, why do I work so hard? I said, one, I have dreams, and second, I have responsibilities. So I work, and that's absolutely authentic. I have dreams, and the other thing is, I love what I do, and I do what I love. So there's no work. It's I'm having fun. I'm getting so to say, paid to have fun. Why would I stop doing it 8 days a week? And that's the name of my book that's coming out. It's a metaphor for loving what you do and doing what you love. So if in the last 8 months you discovered, your passion, your ikigai, and also improved yourself, that will hold you in good stead throughout the year to come. And I think at the end of the true reward for doing anything is enjoying that. I mean, Sachin Tendulkar didn't want to be a Rajya Sabha MP or make the money he made. He just wanted to play great cricket, So clearly the reward is in doing and enjoying what you do, being in the moment, giving it your best. And I think magic happens when you do that.
Absolutely. And on that note, we have almost run out of time. In fact, I interviewed an English cricketer about 10 years ago. His name is Ian Botham. I'm sure most of you have heard of him. He also, in fact, enunciated, but Anurag also just said that if you take care of the runs, the dollars will take care of themselves. So basically, if you work hard, things will follow. On that.
And then, Vineet, I share my birthday with the world's greatest cricketer of all time, Sir Donald Bradman. I mean, Sachin Tendulkar's greatness that he says that Sir Donald Bradman is the greatest cricketer. But, Sachin as well could qualify, but then I won't share my birthday with Sachin, but I do share my birthday. And I did enjoy watching Ian Botham bowl and bat in Captain UK. I mean, gives away my age, which is clearly not 21, but yes, I'm a big fan of Ian Botham.
All right. If you feel any better, let me tell you, I've met Sir Donald Bradman twice in my life. I have a picture also of him with me. I'll send it to you. But on that note, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this show. It was enlightening as well as invigorating. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as me and Anurag did. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.